Okay, guys, my name is Logan Mormando, and this is my proposal presentation for English 417. Let's take a look at the issue here that we will be discussing. The issue is that the NBA season is too long. The NBA plays an 82 game schedule. This lasts over a span from October into the regular season ending in May, and the playoffs going all through May and into June. This is a very, very long season and it's very rigorous on a player's body. I have some facts stated in my proposal paper that the three players that play over 25 minutes a game, that is about 2,050 minutes on the court of an NBA game. Now you multiply that by your three players and you multiply that by your 82 games. That's like you asking your three players to spend what would take 22 and a half marathons on the court throughout the course of a season. Now, I understand they're not running the whole entire time. There's some rest breaks in there. Obviously, you get timeouts and quarter breaks and halftime, but these players are moving frequently, and also the change of speeds can be more tiring than just a constant speed. So that is the issue right now: is the NBA season is too long, and they need to look at revamping it to make it easier on the players' bodies, the fans, etc. Let's look at my argument here. The NBA season being too long has implications on different factors. These different factors are including the player injury rates are rising. We've seen a lot of players get injured, and these rates are only getting higher and higher. And we've seen players getting injured from one, back to back games or a high minute workload. In 2017, DeMarcus Cousins was coming off the highest minutes he's ever played in an NBA playoff game. The next game he goes out and he tears his Achilles. I don't think that's any coincidence. I think that's directly correlated to him working too hard on his body, something that he's not used to. And science backs that up, and I have some information on that within my paper. Now, these player injury rates do continue to rise as we've seen a record number of all-stars being injured, and this also has implications on how the season plays out. So believe it or not, the past three NBA Finals champions, the opposing team has had an injured player that was a key player on that team. That information is from Haberstraw at ESPN. That article was written in 2017, and it was updated throughout, last edited this year in 2019. We even saw it this year. Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant both hurt in the NBA Finals. That is no mystery that they were playing a lot of games and that this finally caught up to them when they were upwards to their 100th game of the season. Now let's move on to why the NBA season being long is making fans disinterested or angry when players rest. So players are resting. That's no secret. LeBron James does it. A lot of the superstars in this league that play a high number of minutes do rest. Why do they rest? Because they have back-to-back games. They have back-to-back nights. LeBron James is traveling to Oklahoma City. The Oklahoma City Thunder are playing. The next night, they're driving to Dallas. Flying to Dallas. I doubt the Lakers would drive. Flying to Dallas to play the Mavericks, and then they have a night off, and then they fly to San Antonio to play the Spurs. So that's a long road trip, and these players really can't endure that, especially if it's already late in the season when they're trying to save their bodies for the playoffs so they won't be booted or anything like that. So now let's put it in this scenario to see the fans' perspective is LeBron on the Lakers traveling to Oklahoma City to play the Thunder. Let's say you go to Thunder games often, and let's say the seats that you usually sit in are $80 to $90 a piece, okay? So LeBron's coming to town, and Hirschman at Yahoo Finance tells us that LeBron increases sales by 48% on tickets. So that ticket that was $90, you're looking at it being about $180 if you want to buy that ticket, or excuse me, sorry, not 180. You're looking at about $140 if you want to buy that ticket again, and then you're probably buying some for the family. So that really increases your price by, let's say, $200 if you get 4 tickets. So you do all this just to show up, and an hour before the game, LeBron declares that he's going to rest that night. Now, granted, that's not LeBron's fault, as trainers are probably telling him, we got a long road trip ahead. Sit this game out. We'll get the next one, and be able to rest through this event. Now, let's say this is a Friday night game. It's prime time. It's nationally televised. that will drop the rating significantly. There was a game back in 2016 with the Cleveland Cavaliers, the first game of a back to back. LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love, all three sat out. And this was supposed to be a Saturday night primetime game versus the Los Angeles Clippers. And it went down as the lowest rating television broadcast that ESPN has ever broadcasted at the National Basketball Association. So if that doesn't tell you something about when these marquee players sit out, it does hurt ratings and fans are very disinterested about it. Now, this isn't all the players' fault. It's the season. It's the scheduling. It's these rigorous schedules that they go through that they can't keep up with, their bodies can't physically keep up with. And we've seen that injury rate getting higher, and we've seen them having to take this time off. And time is tested. This season, Kawhi Leonard sat out 30 games of the regular season, and he was one of the more healthy ones on the floor for the Toronto Raptors, which ended up helping them win the title. Now, players deciding to forego representing the USA in the Olympic Games. We've seen this happen often. Biggest example would be Stephen Curry. In 2016, Curry released a statement saying that he decided to forego his name in the United States basketball team for the Olympic Games just because he mentioned that the last season that he played was the hardest on his body. He played most games and that he was not feeling healthy at this moment and he couldn't even go to represent his country in the Olympic Games. Now, my solutions that I have for this, I think shortening the season to 15 games and add a mid-season tournament. So, I understand shortening the season 15 games would really hurt the NBA. Haverstraw at ESPN, this article was written in 2017, talks about how the biggest TV deal in history was happening with the NBA at $3 billion a year from Turner and ABC Sports, which is also ESPN. So $3 billion a year. Imagine what 15 games times 30 team, 15. So that's a lot of games that you're taking out for each team. That's a lot of time that you're going to be missing, a lot of revenue you're going to be missing out on. But that mid-season tournament is where you gain your revenue back. We've seen it become very popular over in Europe with soccer, with the Champions League, the Premier League. People love the mid-season tournaments and kind of crowning that champion. Now, protocol for when a player can declare rest or minor injury. This would be a solution to keeping fans happy and paying to go to games. Saying that a player has to claim that they're going to be resting or they have minor injury 48 or 72 hours before the game could save that fan, $200, $300 on that ticket if they know that that superstar that they really want to go see is not going to be playing and those ticket prices will drop. Reformat the schedule to diminish in rigorous back-to-backs or 3 games and 4 nights. So the league has already done this. The ESPN tells us that the league has dropped from 8 back-to-backs a season to only 4 back-to-back a season. This is a big help for the NBA as that really kind of helped boost their confidence and players were resting less and the NBA thought they had their fix. But now the pace of play has picked up. It's tougher on their bodies, and they're having to go through tough schedules. And still an issue for the NBA, but reformatting that to totally delete back-to-backs or 3 games and 4 nights, I think would really help the NBA. Players not resting and the season not feeling too long. Now, some challenges when I was going through this data. I could not find the scientific data that I wanted to find. No data that I was hoping for, so I really wanted to see if there was a certain month that injury is ramped up in the NBA, and all that data was from the 1990s, which really doesn't really support my claim. I'm kind of talking modern day because the game has changed so much. I'm sure that number would be much higher. And specific injuries that correlate to the season being too long. So were there players that had a certain amount of minutes that always seemed to get this injury? So that was the information that I was really looking for, and I could not find it. It was very tough to find. There was very little scientific information on this, but I do hope you guys enjoyed this, and thank you so much.